Now he's bald, but back then he had this lovely dark hair. He was such a handsome man.
We rode a bicycle for 10 kilometers. They told us to register our marriage quickly, and then we immediately went to work.
I used to complain about always having to eat sausage with milk.
How did you meet?
We met in the 8th grade. She was in the class next door, and I was nearby. She was always so lively, running during the break, and one day she bumped right into our old teacher's belly. The teacher grabbed her by the neck and started scolding her right outside our classroom door.
We met at a dance in the dormitory on March 8th. And exactly a year later, on March 8th, 1962, we got married.
He came to our village, and that's where we met. You see, there were street dances. Everyone danced and sang together. That's where we met.
We both unexpectedly ended up in the same city at that time. We got into the same university.
I originally went in a different major, a different faculty. Then a couple of months later, they invited me and said, you know, a new major has just opened up and we're selecting people who we believe can succeed there. We're offering you to switch to this group, and she was already there.
What did you like about each other?
It's hard to say. We were both a bit drunk. I walked her home early in the morning after the graduation party. That's when we started dating.
You know, he was very calm, so balanced.
Now he's bald, but back then he had this lovely dark hair. He was such a handsome man.
I saw her standing there, slim and delicate, with a lovely figure. I liked her, and that's it. I've loved her ever since, for 57 years now.
Well, he's not like everyone else. He's gentle.
Well, she's hardworking. She was beautiful, and she's still just as beautiful now.
And this one was the smartest in our group.
Me?
Very friendly, too.
She was such a modest girl. Her father was an officer, a war veteran, very strict about behavior. I liked that. She had this beautiful long braid. It was quite mesmerizing.
How did you get married?
We got married and returned to our dormitory. Many students had already heard about our wedding.
The dormitory had a stone floor. In one corner there was a small radio and some newspapers. In another corner we had vodka and champagne. That was all we had then. Oh, and there were canned fish, bread, and dried fish. That was our wedding meal.
We had a village wedding. First my parents organized it, then his.
There was no special wedding dress. I got married in what I had. We rode a bicycle for 10 kilometers. They told us to register our marriage quickly. After us, another couple got registered, then another. Quick congratulations, and then we immediately went to work.
It was the first wedding in our university group, so all our friends secretly gathered, not telling a word to anyone. They greeted us with bouquets of flowers outside the registry office.
Yes, the lilacs were just starting to bloom then. No other flowers were available at that time.
Did you argue often?
I used to complain about always having to eat sausage with milk. We were fed at work, but at home it was always milk or kefir sausages, nothing else. I put up with it for a while, but how much can one tolerate? My wife couldn't cook. She wasn't used to it. Everyone praised and pampered her. She was my star, but then I had to teach her how to cook, how to make soup.
It's hard to imagine a family where one person just decides and orders things to be a certain way. No, there's discussion, debate, understanding different perspectives. Does my wife disagree with something I propose? Let her speak up.
No, the thing is, he was hardly ever at home. His cursed job meant we rarely saw him at home.
If we had any issues, we resolved them right away. We barely even knew the word divorce.
What is your happiest family memory?
We lived in a very small apartment. At that time, I was in the hospital with our little daughter. My husband came and asked me what kind of apartment I wanted.
By then we were a family of 5.
I said, a good one. He asked, what do you mean by good? I said, well, for starters, I want one room to be round, and it should have 2 doors, one leading to the next room and one to the hallway. He pulled out some keys from his pocket and said, here, go have a look. We opened the front door of the apartment. Indeed, there was such an oval hallway. Here's a door, and then it leads to the corridor over there. You enter through this door, and there's indeed a round room.
In this apartment, all our children grown up there, then the grandchildren. We brought them here. Grandma carried them in her arms.
When our second son was born, it was a bit of a mix-up. I drove her to the hospital in the morning, so sure we were having another girl. Around noon I called from work, asking the doctor if my wife had given birth. He answered, yes, she had. I asked, a boy or a girl? A boy, a son? I said, it can't be. She asked, who's calling? I said, the husband. So is the father unhappy with his son? I said, it's our second. Well, there's nothing I can do to help you.
When I gave birth to our first and came home from the maternity hospital, he greeted me and had cooked soup. He put a whole chicken in it, didn't even clean it or anything. We were happy. I was from an orphanage, always with him. Wherever he went, I went. We always had happy moments together.
I didn't want to have my first son. I had to compete in a sports event. I thought, no, I won't have a child. I wanted to have an abortion, but I had a very wise doctor, and she demanded my husband come in. She talked to him, and he came home saying, you have our child, and you can travel wherever you want, but the son will be with me. But then, when I gave birth, it was such joy. He carried him from the maternity hospital to our apartment. It was cold. He barely made it. His hands went numb. That was the greatest joy.
What difficulties have you experienced together?
I had a 6-month assignment. Back then, there was no email, just a letter in a mailbox, and she would receive my letter a week later at best. It was a big trial for her. By that time, we already had 3 daughters. Our youngest was just a year or a year and a half old.
Chaos.
A test.
Loads of kids. Need to go for a walk with them, feed them, cook. And in the yard, there's a guy walking with this huge dog. I thought, I'll just hand him the baby stroller, let him walk too, because I don't have any time at all.
Well, I became disabled at 50. I had an unsuccessful surgery and a brain hemorrhage. Then I got paralysis in my legs. I've been walking poorly ever since, for 30 years now. Thank God for my husband, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. They all helped. They taught me to walk, to hold a spoon. I couldn't do anything before.
How long has it been? 5 years since my leg was amputated.
We used to do everything together, go to the store, walk with the kids, everything. But now, of course, it's harder for me. Well, I became disabled. There's more care, more work, more help needed.
We had 2 children. Now we only have 1 daughter left. When this greatest sorrow happened to me, if it weren't for the grandchildren, daughter, son-in-law, we probably wouldn't have survived. They were always around us. Every day, every minute, someone was always with us. And we all together, this unity, that's what you feel.
It only brings us closer together.
Can love last for 50 years or more?
You understand, there's no such thing as being in love every day, year after year. Sometimes it fades a bit, sometimes it awakens again.
You're talking about something else. They asked if love could arise. That is, could I fall in love with some other woman in that sense? That's how I understood it.
I understood it differently. I'm answering as I understood.
And I answered as I understood.
Sometimes he gets on my nerves, but then everything's fine again.
Love, I understand it like this. Love is when it matches sex. That's true love, when you're really drawn to that person, when you could give everything. Just to have that person with you, that's love.
You misunderstood again. They're talking about our relationship, not about someone else.
I'm talking in general, not just about our relationship. Our relationship lives and will continue to live.
It can last, of course, 50 years and more.
Nowadays, I think it's like 3 years together, then a breakup. Then again, 3 years of love. That's probably how it goes. But look back in the old days. People got married in church, and that was it. Once you were married in church, it was very serious. And people lived together for 70, 60 years.
I've been telling him all my life. Have you ever once told me you love me? Listen, you young people. And he answers, if you knew whether I love you or not, you'd walk around with your head high. This way, we're equals. That's how we've lived our whole lives. Learn from us.
Probably not. It's more like a habit, some kind of kinship.
Yes, I agree that love in an emotional style doesn't last a lifetime. It gradually turns into a strong friendship that cements the family. It's very important.
Did you ever doubt that it was love for a lifetime?
To be honest, I had my doubts. I only remembered one thing in my youth, that I have a son, and that's the most important thing. And a son needs a father. Whether someone else would be a good father, who knows?
So the first confession,
I never had that. There wasn't time back then to even look at someone else.
No, I don't know. We never even thought about it. We traveled together everywhere, always together, so we couldn't even imagine it.
We haven't tired of each other yet.
We haven't had that yet. Maybe it will happen, but not yet. If we don't see each other from across the room, we immediately go to each other and check in. Where is everyone? What's going on? We need to talk. If he goes to the market or something and takes a long time, you wait and wait. When will it be? Where did he go? What happened? You worry like that.
Not really.
You know, men have a slightly different upbringing. A man is always the protector of the family, the scout. He goes and sees what's what. Of course, I've met various people abroad, including women who you admire, an interesting, good woman. But it was never a reason to reconsider family relations.
What's the secret to a long and happy married life?
If we didn't love each other, it probably wouldn't be like this.
Respect for each other.
never thought about it, fell in love, agreed, and that's it. We were always confident about tomorrow. Everything was out of love, everything was from the heart.
Love each other, respect each other.
We always tell our granddaughter, grandson, and our children too that you shouldn't fight. Live peacefully.
There were dark spots in life, of course, but we knew how to neutralize them, to turn them in a way that our family wouldn't fall apart, and that's worth a lot. I can't imagine my life without my beloved wife. The unity of our two hearts, our souls, for the happiness of our children and the strength of our family.